Welcome. Today's focus is on the 11 signs that you're the victim of narcissistic abuse. Now let's start by understanding the concept of narcissistic abuse. It is a form of psychological and emotional maltreatment, often subtle and insidious, perpetrated by someone with narcissistic tendencies. This is not just your run-of-the-mill arrogance, but a deep-seated pattern of behavior characterized by manipulation, exploitation, and a total disregard for others. Does this sound familiar to you? The effects of this kind of abuse can be devastating, leaving the victim feeling emotionally drained, confused, and even doubting their own perception of reality. It's a complex web of control and manipulation that can be hard to recognize, especially when you're in the thick of it. And that's why we're here today. Now we're going to explore 11 signs that could indicate you or someone you know is experiencing narcissistic abuse. These signs are not just simple checkboxes. They are intricate patterns that often overlap, and they can manifest in different ways for different people. But understanding these signs is the first step towards breaking free from the toxic cycle. We're not here to diagnose, but to provide you with knowledge that can empower you to recognize and navigate these tricky waters. We'll be using credible sources, including Psychology Today, to ensure the information we share is reliable and helpful. So whether you're here to understand your own experiences or you're trying to support someone else, know that this journey, while challenging, is a crucial step towards healing. Remember, you're not alone in this. There are resources and support systems available to help you along the way. Stay tuned as we delve into the first sign of narcissistic abuse. It's going to be an enlightening journey, and we're glad you're here with us. Sign number 1, constant criticism. It's a tool often wielded by narcissistic abusers. They use it like a chisel, slowly and methodically chipping away at your self-esteem. The criticism could come in many forms. It could be about your appearance, your mannerisms, your abilities, or even your dreams and aspirations. The goal is to make you doubt your worth, to undermine your confidence. This constant barrage of negativity is not about constructive feedback or improvement. It's about control. By making you feel small, they hope to make themselves appear bigger, more important. But remember, this criticism says more about the abuser than it does about you. It reflects their insecurity, their need for dominance. Moving on to the second sign, gaslighting. Sign number 2, gaslighting, which is a psychological manipulation tactic that narcissistic abusers employ to make their victims question their own reality. It's like a mental maze where the abuser continuously distorts the truth, causing the victim to doubt their own perceptions, memories, and sanity. Imagine a situation where you're certain something occurred in a particular way, but the abuser insists it didn't happen that way at all. You're led to believe that your memory is faulty. In reality, it's the abuser twisting the narrative to fit their desired outcome. This tactic serves to destabilize and delegitimize a victim's beliefs, making them more susceptible to the abuser's control. Over time, the victim may become so unsure of their own judgment that they rely on the abuser to interpret reality for them. Gaslighting is insidious. It creeps into the psyche slowly, making it difficult for victims to recognize they are being manipulated. It's key to remember, trust in your own perceptions. You have a right to trust your own mind. Next, we'll uncover the third sign, control and manipulation. Sign number 3, control and manipulation. This is a hallmark of narcissistic abuse. The abuser uses tactics that are subtle yet profound to exert their control and manipulate their victims. They may make decisions for their victims, limit their autonomy, and even repress their individuality, all with the intent of maintaining power over the relationship. By manipulating their victims, narcissistic abusers keep them under their thumb, dictating their actions and feelings. They may use guilt, fear, or even love as tools to control their victims' behavior. This manipulation can be so insidious that victims may not even realize they're being controlled until it's too late. The abuser's need for control extends to all aspects of the victim's life, from their personal choices to their interactions with others. This control is not about care or concern, but about dominance and power. It's a way for the narcissistic abuser to feel secure and superior. So if you find yourself feeling controlled or manipulated in a relationship, take a step back and evaluate the situation. It may be an indication of narcissistic abuse. Sign number 4, isolation. We're navigating a tricky terrain here, one where a narcissistic abuser often plays the role of both the captor and the rescuer. They create a world where they're the only person you can rely on, systematically driving a wedge between you and your loved ones. Imagine being in a room filled with people but feeling utterly alone. That's what isolation feels like. It's like being on an island, cut off from the mainland, from your support system. Friends, family, colleagues, they become distant figures on the horizon. This isolation isn't always physical, it can be emotional too. Conversations become strained, relationships become frayed, and at the center of it all is the abuser, pulling the strings, fostering dependence, making you believe that they are the only ones who truly understand you. But remember, isolation is a tool for control, not an expression of love or concern. It's a sign, a red flag, a wake-up call that something isn't right. Next on our list is sign number 5, emotional detachment. Sign number 5, emotional detachment. Now this is a tricky one. The continuous cycle of manipulation and control can often lead to victims feeling emotionally detached. It's as if a thick fog has settled in, clouding the heart's ability to feel and connect. This detachment isn't a choice, rather a survival mechanism, a defense against the relentless emotional turmoil. It's like the mind's attempt to shield the heart from further pain. Unfortunately, this can create a barrier, not just against the abuser, but against the world. The joy of life, the warmth of love, the thrill of excitement, all these feelings seem to fade into the background. They become distant, almost unreachable, like looking at a vibrant painting through a frosted glass. Remember, this emotional detachment is not an indication of weakness, but a sign of enduring strength and resilience. The 6th sign we'll discuss is physical health issues. Sign number 6, physical health issues. The constant stress and anxiety from enduring narcissistic abuse can manifest in a variety of physical health problems. The body, in its attempt to cope with the emotional turmoil, can respond by developing stress-related conditions. You might find yourself battling with insomnia, unable to find rest even in sleep as your mind is perpetually on high alert. Heart disease is another potential consequence, as the constant state of stress can increase blood pressure and heart rate, causing wear and tear on the heart. It's important to remember that emotional abuse doesn't just scar the mind. It can also leave lasting damage on the body. Stay tuned as we unravel the 7th sign, difficulty trusting others. Sign number 7, difficulty trusting others. When a person has been subjected to the relentless manipulation and control of a narcissistic abuser, it's not surprising that trust becomes a major issue. The constant deceit and betrayal experienced in such a relationship can leave deep emotional scars. This trauma can manifest as a pervasive mistrust of others, even in new and healthy relationships. It's as if a protective wall has been erected to guard against further emotional harm. This lack of trust can extend beyond personal relationships, affecting social and professional interactions as well. Overcoming this hurdle requires understanding, patience, and often professional help. Remember, healing is a journey that takes time, and everyone moves at their own pace. Next, we'll discuss the 8th sign, feeling of hopelessness. If you're finding this information helpful, consider subscribing as we continue our series on narcissism. Sign number 8, feeling of hopelessness. This is a profound emotion that tends to envelop victims of narcissistic abuse. It's like a thick fog that obscures the way forward, making it difficult to see any viable paths to escape. The relentless psychological violence, the manipulation, the control, all these tactics used by the narcissistic abuser can make the victim feel trapped in a never-ending cycle of despair. This feeling of hopelessness can be so profound that the victim might find it hard to imagine a life free from the abuse. They might question their own worth, their ability to survive outside the toxic environment, even their sanity. It's a bleak, desolate landscape where the light of hope struggles to penetrate. But remember, this feeling of hopelessness is just another tool in the abuser's arsenal, designed to keep the victim tethered and submissive. It's a sign, a red flag waving urgently, signaling the need for help and intervention. The 9th sign is self-harm or suicidal thoughts. Sign number 9, self-harm or suicidal thoughts. The torment resulting from narcissistic abuse can sometimes be so overwhelming that it manifests physically. Victims may resort to self-harm as a desperate attempt to release pent-up emotions or regain control over their own bodies. In the most severe cases, the despair and feelings of worthlessness can lead to suicidal thoughts. This is a cry for help, a manifestation of the belief that there is no other way to escape the relentless emotional pain. This sign is particularly alarming and requires immediate professional intervention. It's crucial to remember it's not a sign of weakness, but a clear indication of just how damaging narcissistic abuse can be. The 10th sign is loss of self. Sign number 10, loss of self. This is one of the most devastating effects of narcissistic abuse. Victims often find themselves so entangled in the abuser's web of manipulation and control that they lose sight of who they are. It's as if they've been stripped of their identity, their passions, their dreams, and their aspirations. Their entire world becomes about appeasing the abuser, avoiding conflict, and trying to maintain a semblance of peace. This constant state of tension and fear forces them to suppress their true selves, their voice, their needs, and their desires. Over time, they may forget what it feels like to be themselves, to have their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. They become shadows, mere extensions of the abuser. They lose their sense of self. Lastly, let's discuss the 11th sign, the introduction of other people into the relationship to further manipulate and control the victim. Sign number 11, the introduction of other people. Narcissistic abusers possess a knack for manipulation, and one of their most insidious tactics involves bringing other people into the mix. They may introduce new individuals into your life, all part of their intricate charade. These people, often unknowingly, become pawns in the abuser's game. The abuser uses them to control, manipulate, and further isolate you, enhancing their power and control. It's important to recognize this tactic as it's a clear indication of the depth of their manipulation and deceit. We've now covered all the 11 signs of narcissistic abuse. Remember, understanding these signs is the first step towards breaking free from such toxic relationships. Please comment below your thoughts on the topic and what actions you will take first.